Three words to describe the last handful of episodes. What would you say?
Shocking
Emotional.
and funny.
Obviously, you're taking on something that's so beloved that you've already worked on, giving new depth to it, new light, new characters, and then expanding on the ones we know, which can be kind of tricky with a fan base that's so passionate, right? But from what I've seen online, people have really embraced this. So I'm curious for you, what's been your favorite thing that you've seen feedback wise, whether it's, a character that went viral for something, or you see edits, or it's a particular episode that really hit somebody? Is there something that stands out?
I really like when I read online like that people that say that why can't I get through an Origins episode without crying? I think that's like the greatest compliment. I think that's often a testament to things Gina's written, which I'm super proud of, but I played a part in that too. And I mean,
Yeah.
that's a great feeling to see something like that, especially on for an NCIS franchise. I don't think that's what you're expecting to make people feel so much. But we've somehow been able to do that, and the goal is to keep doing that.
Especially when people send me stuff about veterans who felt seen or felt, maybe a little bit less alone by some of the stories that we've been telling. That really means a lot to me.
Yeah, I mean, like obviously there's been the funny stuff, like people finding out that, Randolph actually is like this muscular, not nerdy guy. Like I've seen those gifts everywhere. But, when you said people are crying, like I honestly didn't expect to cry during this show. I watch a lot of procedurals and you do get every now and then there's something that'll hit you. But like episode 10, I'm sure you've heard, is like just blew everybody out of the water. And even, to this day, I'm still thinking about it. What was it like crafting that one in particular?
Well, first of all, that's one of the greatest compliments that we've received. So thank you. And yeah, it was for me having been a part of NCIS for so long, I always felt there was a piece missing, which was we knew that Frank showed Gibbs this folder that told him about Pedro Hernandez, but then you kind of jump to then Gibbs is a special agent. Like, where did that come from? So Gina and I both felt there was a story to be told there. And really that one, I mean, they're all difficult, but that one came together pretty quickly after I was driving home and Gina brought up Ruth, this small character that Gina had written in episode 7. And once we really thought that Ruth would be a character to explore answering that question through, in comparison, it came together pretty easy, and we're very proud of it. I've heard that from a lot of people and even some that haven't watched NCIS before, which, if you've never seen an episode of NCIS, you can watch our show and experience it and love it and not feel like you missed anything. But it means a lot to me when people say that that's stuck with them and that episode that they've thought about even weeks afterwards. I think when they say stuck with them, they don't just mean that they've got Linda Ronstadt's Blue Bayou stuck in their head. That's actually the narrative. So,
Although that too.
I mean,
yeah,
I don't think I had that on my bingo card to ever see a fight scene set to like Linda Ronstadt. But it's true because like, I personally have seen in passing an episode here or there when it's like on in the background, but this is the first time I've really sat down with this universe. And I think with that particular episode, it's because it really shows like it hits everybody, no matter whether you are a fan, you have a military background or not, or anything. It's just like someone that's you just is there for a moment in your life could have the biggest impact over somebody who's been there, throughout. So I love that. And then speaking of the music, that's something I love about the show as well, is the 90s element of it and just those flashbacks and just being brought into that world. With the music in particular, you said with the Linda Ronstadt song, and then I believe in episode 13 we had, I think it's episode 13, we had all the, talk about Prince of Thieves and the Bryan Adams song. So what goes into like crafting those little nuggets? Is it your own personal things that you're just like, how do we work my favorite song or my favorite movie reference into this? Or is it like you craft the episode and then say, hey, I think that this kind of thing would fit as a fun little Easter egg or nod?
The songs definitely influence how the episode is written. In fact, a lot of times we can't really find the true through line until we realize what song we're putting in there. Yeah, David was just joking that I tried to cut. I tried
you
to
know that what is the song called again? I can't.
everything I do it for you. It's
Yeah,
Brian.
the Bryan Adams song. Lisa, she wrote that in the script, and I'm like, this is an interrogation to that song. I'm like, this is genius. I love
No.
it. And then she tried to take it out of the show. She was like, I have to fight her to keep her genius ideas in there. I'm like, this is gonna work. It's brilliant.
Like
You know, the
it
other thing,
balances it so well. You have this
yeah,
heavy stuff, but there's like this lightness to it. But it's like, no, this is still important. Like, like
yeah.
it's a
And
good
episode
balance.
9, the music for the top of that, obviously Gibbs kills Pedro to the song. How do you say it?
For Mando Ballet.
Yeah. And then, but Gina, then you had the remix song. What's the other song?
PM Dawn.
PM Dawn. Yeah. And
Yes.
she scripted that from the jump in the beginning, saying that Spandau Ballet goes into PM Dawn, the remix. I was like,
Oh.
yeah.
So I was like a musical theater nerd, so this is like a dream come true to be able to write music into anything for me.
I know this is a little too meta, but you have the 90s icon Lori Petty on your show. Do you think these characters have seen Point Break yet?
Yeah, I think we had that in a script at one point
That's a
and
great question. Yeah, we
and
did.
checked
We
it out.
had it
But yes, I have. And I have to say, like, she is just magic on screen, and it still is like a pinch me moment. I mean, some of these supporting characters we have, like with Michael Harney, who plays Kowalski, just an absolute legend and a force. And then of course, Lori Petty. I mean, it's just we're so fortunate to have such talent around us.
And with the Origins theme, you did give Kowalski a little bit more than we would have thought. Is there another character like Lori Petty's character, or Phil or Woody or anybody that you can tease if we do dive into, or that you would love to dive into now that we do have a season 2 coming up?
We plan on diving into all of them. I mean, they're
Yeah.
just all fantastic. And I will say March 24th, we're coming back with a new episode that is all about Mary Jo and learning about Mary
Yes.
Jo, who is an ultimate fan favorite. Certainly my mom's fan favorite. And my mom's been on me about what is taking you and Gina so long to get to this Mary Jo episode. So luckily it's one that's the wait will pay off. And I say I hope it pays off. It pays off. Everyone should tune into this episode and see. She's just such a rich, wonderful character. And Tyler Abercrombie, who plays Mary Jo, is just a force of nature. It's a beautiful, beautiful episode. Very proud of it.
Okay, good, because she was also on the top of my list. So we got
Right?
that out of the way.
Amazing.
Now, at the beginning of the series, you did tease that, Gibbs says this is a story about Lala. And we've kind of gone back and forth. You have to shift focus sort of with a bunch of different storylines that are going on. But in the last few episodes, we did see Gibbs and Lala kind of come to some agreements, or, kind of start to understand more. What can you tease when it comes to that relationship and her story in particular?
We will definitely learn more about the Lala character towards the end of the season. And we will circle back to the question of this is the story of her. So stay tuned for that.
Because
Lisa, I don't know if you saw, but the news broke, I think it was online yesterday or the day before, that our season finale is
yes,
actually
titled her name,
entitled
right? Yeah.
Cecilia. Yes. So I'll leave it at that. But
Okay. Because, like, how do you pace out these stories, knowing that you know where some of these characters are, obviously, with the main show? How do you pace out how you want to get to some of these canon points? And, like, obviously, she's a character that's new to this series that hasn't been mentioned. How do you, like, pace out how long you want to take her story? And is it just the focus of the first season, or is this literally the focus of, like, going on for however long this show goes?
Well, some of those questions are what we talk about in the writer's room, like where do these characters want to take us? And we're trying to remain true to those characters, but also a lot of our stakes are wrapped up in the fact that we don't know what happened to these new characters, right? We know what happens to Franks and Gibbs, but these new characters, which we're hopefully falling in love with, what happens to them? There's always questions that we're asking in the writer's room, and how can we best tell those stories in the most powerful way. So nothing is off the table for those characters, which is exciting for us as storytellers.
We got a lot of, Frank's backstory in these last few episodes as well, especially with his brother. Is that something we'll revisit in the future? Because, the story that it was juxtaposed with, you kind of wonder what happened to his brother. And then you see it kind of takes a little bit of a different direction. So will we revisit that dynamic? And I mean, could we ever meet that brother if he's still alive?
we have not heard the last of the story of Mason. So
Okay.
there's more of the story there to be told for sure.
Awesome. And obviously, again, with Franks, we left off on a heartbreak with Tish and him breaking up. Is this going to hinder him with that case? Is he still going to go for it, even though, they're broken up? Is that something he still wants justice for? Or do you think he'll pass, like, let it go? What, because I know fans love that couple and we would love to see them get back together because there obviously is still quite a few bits of time before we catch up with Franks in the present.
Yeah, Franks has a lot of that John Wayne type of old school, guy in him, and John Wayne never let anything go. So I don't think
Okay. So, the character that I am most curious about is Strickland, and obviously we haven't gotten a ton of her. She's starting her program. We have Gibbs finding out about Operation Sundown. She's doing the project with Bugs. What can you tease with her in particular, and will she have a significant part coming up in this last like 5 episodes?
It's an episode that is heavily focused on Vera and her program and what she's been doing. And Diani, who plays her, is again just such a gifted actress. We're just so excited to feature that character, and we think it's going to be a very telling story as far as the overarching story of our season. So it'll be a fun episode.